It's really heavy, but it's not working yet. Just with. Oh, lourd. C'est lourd. C'est heavy. Is it on? You're just easing me into this, aren't you? Do these work?
Shall we?
So we can begin.
Yeah. Great. I think we can maybe start. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today on the panel of Transparent Food. Transparent, Resilient, and Fair Food Systems. My name is, bless you. My name is Sasha Cohen-Ioannidis, and I am one of the EIT Future Food Makers. The Future Food Makers are a group of 8 Gen Z activists, and we work with EIT Food to help ensure that different companies and the European Commission and different policymakers are aligned with what Generation Z wants to see within the future of food. The reason why I'm speaking today with this panel is because within the menu for change that we developed last year, which was a set of proposals that we want to see two very important things that are matching with a transparent and resilient food system. One is that we believe that the EU should have uniform labeling guidelines to ensure that food has a set amount of information about nutrition and sustainability. And the second is that we would like to see true cost accounting take into place with the food system to ensure that the externalities of food are calculated into the cost so that more sustainable and more ethical food becomes more affordable. But now I would like to give the session over to our amazing panelists today. Join us after this for the awards. Thank you. So yes, these are our amazing panelists. We have Anna, who's an associate professor at the University of Reading, Christophe, who is a professor at the Faculty of Management in the University of Warsaw, Maxine, who's the co-founder of Connecting Food, and Vincent, who's the CEO of
C'est qui le patron?
C'est qui le
Ce qui le patron.
C'est moi, bravo.
Merci beaucoup. So Anna, I can pass this over for you to start.
Well, I was looking for my slides, so I'm just gonna. Shall I just?
Are probably going to be mine, so let's just.
Okay.
Then if you don't prepare, then
Okay. I might be
Maybe
number 3. Yeah, I'm going to be number 3. So shall I
No?
go back?
No, no, it's me. Slide backwards.
I don't know. If they
Nope. Sorry, we've lost my slides.
you have those statistics in your head, so you can just tell us the story. No, I'm joking. So, Sasha, if you prefer, I can.
do you want to
Yeah,
start?
but I now
Yes,
can't go
and we
back.
could-
It won't go back. So
we could do. So, apologies for the confusion. Then.
I mean, I can try it.
Too much click, keep the click.
So you all have a pamphlet that was on your seats about Trust Tracker that you can take out and look at.
There will be a short quiz afterwards, so read it very, very carefully.
But maybe we should start for the sake of time. I don't know.
Attention. Slides are back.
No.
No,
No, it was the presentation.
you haven't got my slides on there. Can you have a look on there? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Do we have any singers? Does somebody want to sing a song for us today?
You've got talent.
Can anyone juggle?
The backer? Attention, le backer.
They should be here.
Always need the backer.
There is a backup.
There's nothing.
Chiara, there is nothing on there.
Yeah. Um,
The time to find back the presentation.
Start. Yes. Maybe. Wait. Okay.
Oui. On annonce peut-être avec Christophe.
Yes. So
Christophe peut-être.
I think for the sake of time, we're going to start with the second presentation. So thank you for your patience. Christophe?
So thanks, Sasha. Apologies for the confusion. So as you see, as with consumers, also with producers and organizations, sometimes we might have screw-ups and challenges. But what we are going to show you in today's session, and Anne will follow with her slides, is the issue of consumer trust and involvement of consumers in a number of activities that food producers and retailers do. And my presentation will concern experiences of a project called EIT Food Risk Consumer Engagement Labs, project in which food producers and consumers were co-creating products. But when you think about co-creation, it's a bit like, imagine that you hire a taxi. And, well, food producer is the taxi driver. But when you hire a taxi driver, you wouldn't expect him or her to know where you want to go. And the co-creation part is the element where you have the consumers saying what they want to achieve, what type of products they expect. And, well, at least theoretically, producers should carefully listen, follow those advices, and of course use the means that they've got, including the car, fuel, and the knowledge of the location to bring the consumer or passenger safely to the place where they should be. Of course, when it comes to co-creation, it's not always that easy. And that was the reason why at University of Warsaw, 4 years ago, we created a methodology that was empowering consumers. It was almost forcing them, stimulating them to share their views, to stop being shy, to start interacting with producers, to show them the way and suggest what type of products they would like to have. So far, this EIT Food funded project has been probably the most impactful or sizable consumer co-creation initiative in European food industry, because we worked all together with 82 consumer panels in 16 countries and as many as 43 companies and a number of research partners, including universities and research institutes, and by the way, many of them are also today in this room. Interestingly, all of those 43 companies were actually not officially EIT Food partners. They were added to the consortia from outside of the EIT Food partnership. To make it even more impactful, so far, we've actually generated as many as 22 new food products. So food products meeting all the requirements of EIT Food KPIs from just one modestly funded project. There are also new packaging designs on the way and some further products in the pipeline. What's more, the way how we treat co-creation is actually very different from traditional experiences of consumer insights that your colleagues from marketing or product design departments might have. So it's not a case of sensory studies where you have your product designed and you just evaluate different options. It's also not a focus group where you just lead quite generic discussions about certain needs. What we've done was really structured process in which we elicitate certain needs and requirements, and then we help consumers translate them into product proposals. So what we see is, first of all, a lot of creative inputs. Then, aspects of engagement, because this process, it was not a focus group. The process has lasted for multiple weeks. And frankly speaking, even our research partners were surprised that they could keep consumers committed and coming back and working with them for several weeks. But surprisingly, maybe the merits of methodology helped them with this. And of course, there was also huge empowerment, because at certain stage, consumers started feeling that they are experts, that they acquire knowledge, that they are capable of telling certain things to producers. And of course, when you think about consumer proposals, then this slide is probably different from what we've sent, but there were some unexpected proposals or ideas coming from consumers. And if I could use just one word summarizing the overall experiences of consumer engagement labs, this would be surprise, because most of companies were really not expecting what comes. On the other hand, also, well, another slide that doesn't look exactly as we've planned. Don't expect technological breakthroughs from consumers. Namely, consumers will be quite limited in ways how they define the use of technologies, especially if you don't work with technology experts. But at the same time, what they are experts in are the actual consumer needs. So this is the way to design and develop products that would be highly desirable by consumers, that would exactly fit into the specific needs of certain target audience. But at the same time, when we use the metaphor of taxi driver, so once again, you need consumers to tell the taxi driver where to drive. But usually, people use taxi when they don't drive by themselves, and that's the role for companies. So we were able to design a structure and process in which the companies could use laboratories, R&D teams, all the commercial machinery behind the new product development to translate very attractive, commercially interesting ideas of products from consumers to translate them into something that is easily marketable. And just, to give you some examples of those taxi drives that we had. Gricola, granola based on buckwheat, developed by our Lithuanian partner and also the largest retailer in Lithuania. Interesting thing is that, traditional cereal-based granola would have not very positive glycemic index, and would be quite hard. So, for example, for older consumers, the act of consuming granola would be potentially risky to their teeth. So, having buckwheat granola offers you all the crunchiness and all the other benefits, plus it's also having better glycemic index, and turns out that it's actually matching the needs of certain target audience. Another example, Portugal, with Vieira de Castro and the large retailer Continente, we've developed bolachas digestive, a special type of biscuits that promote digestion. At the same time, again, low glycemic index. And one interesting feature, because the biscuits were designed in such a way that they are not particularly sticky to the teeth. So again, another benefit and expectation of consumers solved. And final example, a startup from Croatia, startup called Sidrani created kombuchaga, which is an instant drink in a semi-powder liquid form, which combines instant coffee with kombucha. So you get all the benefits of drinking coffee with probiotics, and importantly, this is in a small, tiny little pocket that you can just dilute in water. So again, for many consumers, it's a lovely way of transporting the product, taking it to work, on the trip, etc., and without the need to carry something and keep in the fridge. So those are just few examples of those 22 products so far. Also, as scientists, we've tried to analyze all those experiences, because as mentioned, this was the largest such initiative so far. We had a chance of comparing different countries, different settings, types of products. So what I could summarize as important lessons learned for you. So first of all, I know it sounds like a buzzword, but consumer voice does matter. And it's, if you use it wisely, this is a clever way of refurbishing your entire food product portfolio. At the same time, those ideas could be potentially commercially attractive. And some of those ideas will become particularly relevant in nowadays economic reality, because many of those innovations were sort of frugal innovations. So this is not type of products that you use with influencer marketing, but something that actually addresses the needs of real people, non-experts from different age groups. And those products are on the market, many more are coming. Think also about the specific benefit of empowering your consumers and transforming them into change agents. And that's all from me. I understand that we are supposed to just summarize some key ideas and experiences of the project. So this was definitely a type of experience of EIT Food where we were able to demonstrate that once you ask your consumers to help you design your products, you will definitely benefit from this. And we hope that in the future editions of Consumer Engagement Labs, also your companies or organizations would be interested in working with us. More details you can find on EIT Food website. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. That was really interesting to see how innovative consumers can be in ways that companies can't. And now I'm excited to see what Maxine can share with us about Connecting Food.
So hello everybody, I'm the co-founder of Connecting Food. We are a French company. We are actually very European and international. We're using technology to make supply chains more transparent, more resilient, and also fairer. So I just wanted to show you a quick film about what we're actually doing and then tell you a little bit more about it. Over the past few years, there have been a lot of scandals in the food industry. Consumers today no longer trust the food that they are buying. Hi, I'm Maxine. I am the co-founder of Connecting Food.
I'm Stefano. I'm the co-founder of Connecting Food.
Connecting Food is an EIT Rising Food Star, and we are fighting for the future of food, making it more transparent.
Today there is a kind of war between the consumer and the production.
Many food producers are actually making concrete efforts to source locally and ethically. But what is missing is a tool to be able to gather all that information and to be able to showcase it to the consumer. When they're shopping for food, consumers can see a QR code on the pack, and using their smartphone they can scan that QR code and access information about the whole food chain. In a packet of biscuits, for example, they can see the whole journey of the wheat. Where does it come from? Where was it grown? But also the journey right through to the manufacturing plants. And all this information is specific for each batch of product. So each time the consumer will scan the product, it will not be the same story. So how do we make it work?
Our technology allows to follow the life of a product from the beginning until the fork of the consumer.
The information exists in the supply chain, such as traceability and audit information, but it was only used in case of problems such as a product recall or an annual audit. What was missing was a module to be applied to link the batches together for real-time traceability and auditing, which is what Connecting Food does.
To get a kind of passport for the product, showing that at each step is in line with promises and with specification.
And then we register the information on a blockchain to make sure that it remains tamper-proof. Since we are applying real-time food audits, we can identify when a product is not compliant in real time and deal with it, which means that instead of throwing that food away, we can actually put it into a different supply chain for which it is compliant. The agri-food industry is changing. Manufacturers, processors and producers are getting together to be able to leverage the traceability information and to build stronger relationships with their clients and with the end consumer. Connecting Food is a tool to make that happen. It's a concrete solution to move towards more transparency in food chains.
So just a couple of minutes on what we're actually doing behind what you can see here. Because as we know that managing supply chains has become a real issue and very central in a lot of companies' strategies today, with all the different disruptions that we're seeing from the war, the pandemic, etc. So leading brands, we believe, are those that tomorrow can really show that they have transparent supply chains, so that they can manage also and anticipate and predict what is actually happening. Purpose-led for the consumer who is really looking to compare if it's the same product and one of them is more purpose-led, more fair, more transparent. A lot of consumer information shows that they would choose that brand above the other one. Resilient supply chains by actually working with strategic suppliers in a supply chain to make sure that even if there is a lot of disruptions, that there still is that supply that's coming through. And of course efficiency, which is something which is always very important. And what we're actually doing is we are using technology to be doing that. We're using digital twins. A digital twin is a twin of a physical product, which will actually get more and more information as the product is actually being transformed. So from a raw material right through to an end product, connecting the dots between the different actors that are working on that and the different areas, so you can know where it came from, who made it and how they made it, the different certifications, making sure that they are in line with the product specifications. And we're actually doing that for some very complex supply chains. Here I was just showing a tea which has over 100 cooperatives in Sri Lanka, 19 suppliers all over the world. And because they're actually mixing tea with different ingredients like rose hips, etc. Controlling the quality. So there's 320 ingredients that are actually being traced and digitally audited in 232 blends, going into 157 SKUs and being sold in over, in fact it's over 50 countries now because it's developing very fast. So digital twins are actually managing complexity and also blockchain technology, which is an enabler. Blockchain technology is an underlying technological layer which is basically allowing data sharing between different actors, because a lot of those actors on a supply chain don't want to be sharing very secret information about their recipes or about some of the information they may want to share at one stage but not later on. And also there may be brands that are wanting to share some information which is in line with the strategy and the communication they want to be doing, and they may be wanting to share more information later on. So the fact that there are digital twins that are actually collecting that information, and then we can organize it in different ways. There may be more and more sustainability information coming out later on as they're actually progressing in their programs. And the blockchain is also helping with that sharing of the truth. It's impossible to falsify a blockchain. It's tamper-proof, but also there are some cryptographic capabilities, meaning that each actor has a key and can decide who they actually share that information with, and that information belongs to the one that's actually created the information, which is a big thing for Web 3.0 later on, compared to Web 2.0, where data is actually, it doesn't belong to you anymore, it's actually being taken. But on a blockchain, that data still belongs to the person who generated it, which is a really interesting thing for the future as well. So all of that is really helping different food actors to be working together and to be more resilient on their supply chains, more transparent, and also to show that to the consumer, the end consumer at the end. We're a B2B company and we're helping them to be doing that, to make efficiencies and make more resilient supply chains. So that's a very quick overview of what we're doing at Connecting Food.
That's really incredible, Maxine. It's amazing how you're able to provide more insight on such a complicated supply chain. Vincent, now...
Oui?
Don't do this to me. I would like for you to bring in some more insight with consumers.
Yes, yes. I'm not used to tell about the initiative in English, and not with slides, you know. C'est qui le patron? How to explain you? Okay, there's the slides. You can read like me, but the most important, how the wonderful story of C'est qui le patron. You know, it started in a bad moment where it was the milk crisis. I think it was really, really bad 4 or 5 years ago when the farmer were pay only 24 cents per liter. And for a farm, when you produce milk, you need minimum, before the inflation, 35 cents to live, just to live. And it was the miracle of C'est qui le patron. C'est qui le patron changed the paradigm and say, okay, we have one farmer who commits suicide weekly because he cannot live. How many cents do we need per week to sustain the farm, just to be able to live and pay a correct salary? And the first calculation 3 years ago was something like 3 or 4 cents probably that should go directly to the farmer. And so it was the genius of the consumer community and Nicolas Chaban to say at this moment of time, okay, let's start the opposite. We will guarantee, we will start our product, our price, with the minimum we need for the farm. And the consumer will vote, will see the different quality of the product, and we will vote the price. It means that for the first time we will be perhaps able to sell, I don't know, 10 cents more at the end, 15 cents more, but we are sure that the farmers could live with their work, just their work. And I think that everybody agree that it's normal when you don't take holidays and you work 7 days a week, that you can just live from your work. This is really how C'est qui le patron start. And after, it was a second miracle, because it was the first time, I think, in the food industry that we start a brand with no communication, no sales team, no marketing, almost nothing. Alors, what we had for us, I hope it's the nice picture. Ah, yes, because I like, there's all the women who support me all the time. You say, we say always women. Without the women of C'est qui le patron, I cannot be here 3 years ago to start this adventure. The young people loves us. The Z, how do you say, Sasha? Z generation? The Z loves us also. Women of the Z loves us. You see all the people, our farmers, which came with me at Carrefour to explain what we are doing. Of course, no communication, no salesman, no marketing. Hopefully, some media, you see RTBF, a lot of radio invite me just to explain this story, because this is the only way for us to promote this wonderful adventure. And 3 years after, you see that we have co-created with our consumer, like you said, 2 products. The milk that you see in blue, the famous blue brick. We will have good news coming in the following weeks, because it's what I explained with inflation. I want just to carry your attention on the situation of farmers. The price of milk that globally the market pays, it's quite okay. But all the costs of the farm have literally exploded. And the equations start again. And some people cannot continue to have a sustainable cost of production at the farm. So we have decided, we have voted, all of us, because who is the boss? We are the boss. We are the consumers. We have a lot of power in our pocket. It's our Visa card when we are going to a shop. So we will increase the price of our blue brick, which is now well known. We have sold almost in Belgium. Okay, it's a small market. We are very little, but we have already sold 1 million of fair milk, you know, or 1 million in 3 years. And we have created these wonderful flowers with a small independent windmill in Belgium. And we continue again, because what you have to understand is that C'est qui le patron, the objective is sustain the farm, but it's also to protect our food, you know, our local food. And to protect your local food, you have to protect your producer, you have to protect the transformers. It's very important, especially for the flowers. You don't know perhaps today, the cost of energy is crazy when you have a windmill. It consumes a lot of energy, and my partner don't know how he will pay his 10 employees. So I don't want to start a sad story, but keep in mind that for the small company, it's very, very hard. And C'est qui le patron, is here to help. We are here to help. So I take directly the communication to the community. 10,000 people support us already in Belgium, actively. We communicate directly and we explain what could be the right price to preserve the small company and the producer. So you see students, farmers, distributor. We have national distribution. Carrefour was the first. I tell Carrefour because they were the first to support us and continue to support us. Cora, we have also e-farms, peut-être you know, some of you, which is fantastic, a fantastic adventure in Belgium. So we have our distributor, and all together, we are making that possible. So how does it work, C'est qui le patron? Few words. First, we meet some local producers. We need to support them. Together, we create the questionnaire. It's a bit technical because we have to calculate its sense to make the option, because we as consumer, we choose the quality we want for our product and the associated price. Once the questionnaire is done, we give very transparently the result of the questionnaire. And after we go back to our partner, we create the packaging, and I have to meet the distributor to convince them to follow our choice as consumer. And some of them answer positively to that. It's the go-to-market part. Alors you see, 2 products sold by us, by the consumer. 1 more million liters of milk without any marketing budget. A good distribution. We have Carrefour, Cora, Match. We have also e-farms. Very important, our cooperative, which is producing the milk, is also acting as distributor for all the south part of Belgium, which is very good because the farmers know also how to distribute. Our community, wonderful community. I hope that some people here in the room will join us on our Facebook group. I have a comment from the youngster downstairs saying, Facebook, it's for old people. Okay, but I'm old, come on. So I will do some TikTok later, okay? But join us directly on Facebook to join the community, and we are very proud to be recognized as Social Entrepreneur by Belgian Impact, which has been an initiative from the King of Belgium, so we're very proud of that. It's a wonderful story, and here we go. I'm not too long? Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you.
I think that it's really wonderful that you're connecting with consumers. And I also think that it ties really nicely into the 6th point on the menu for change, which is to improve education. Yes. So last but not least, we have a presentation from Anna. Now that we've had improved technical, this is a food conference, not a computer conference. So that didn't hit as well as I thought it would.
Goodness, the suspense was killing me. Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for waiting. And I just wanted to thank the other 3 speakers because they've really shown why it's so important to be able to actually measure trust. So without further ado, I'm Anna McCready. I'm from the University of Reading, and I've had the exceptional privilege of being able to lead a wonderful team since 2017 to devise and set up this initiative. So consumer trust, as Maxine really beautifully demonstrated, is an incredibly complex thing because the food system itself is incredibly complex. It involves so many different actors. I mean, here are 4 of them. Governments and authorities, farmers, manufacturers, retailers. It's complex. So what we have done is we have put together, I'm smiling at Klaus here in the audience, who was very instrumental in helping us put this together. And we decided that this is about, it's not about just trusting one person, trusting someone. It's trusting many people, and it's trusting many actors. So what we did was we focused initially on beliefs about trustworthiness, and this comes in, there's three main components that we looked at. It's the competence of the actor, so how competent they are, they're doing a good job, do they have the necessary skills? It's about care, do they act in the public interest, do they listen to people's concerns, do they listen to ordinary people? And finally, openness, do they provide relevant information? Are they honest? Are they sufficiently open? So those are the three main things, and we looked at those in respect to these actors. Now, of course, we take into consideration things that might determine trust, and those might be demographics such as age and gender, but it's also things like social trust. You know, where's your trust starting point? Do you generally trust others? We also looked at motivation and intention, because we know, I mean, Klaus, this morning you were talking about how people may be motivated to live healthily or live sustainably, eat healthily, and adopt novel products, but quite often they will be guided by price. But we've discovered that they are also influenced by trust. So motivation can be guided towards intention with trust. Now, in terms of beliefs about trustworthiness, we can also show that these beliefs in trustworthiness are linked to consumer confidence in food integrity, in the things that you can't necessarily see for yourself. You have to take those things on trust. And that's to do with food products, but also the technologies with which they are made. So, just to give you a little bit of more breakdown of what food integrity includes, things like taste, safety. I mean, you have to believe that they're going to be tasty and safe. You only experience the tastiness or the safety of those food products after you've purchased them. So you also don't necessarily know that they're authentic, that they're sustainable and they're healthy. You have to take on trust the information that you see on the package, the labeling. Now, one of the things that makes our model, which you can see this, and also in your leaflets there, brand trust. You can treat brands like people. So we've actually been able to develop our model to be able to start exploring these exciting things about, for instance, brand trust and the things behind it. What we do know is people who show trust in the food system are more confident in their food integrity, and also in the integrity of the technologies that are used to make it. And importantly, when trust is strong, we can get consumers on board with innovations for a healthier and more sustainable food system. So that's important. So how do we go about it? Well, we started back in 2018. We had over 5,000 consumers taking part in 5 countries. And then we built up in 2019 to over 11,000 in 13 countries. And then in 2020, we went up to 18 countries. And we've been doing 20,000 consumers give ever since then. So in all, about 80,000 consumer surveys so far, which is a really good database. Now, in 2022, the same message has been coming through. Farmers are most trusted. They are still most trusted, followed by retailers. So the manufacturers and authorities, they are the least trusted at the moment. But this is not surprising. This is not surprising. So let's have a look at how trust breaks down. We talked about the competence, the care, and the openness. These are the things that form that trustworthiness. Now you can see that there you go, farmers at the top. They're doing best out of everyone for all three of those components, followed by the retailers and then the authorities and the food manufacturers along the bottom. But the really important thing to see here is that competence scores tend to be higher, and the lowest scores tend to be around openness. And that's the really important thing. So openness of food system actors is of primary importance in establishing consumer trust. And what do we mean by openness? It's around their activities. It's about the information they offer, and it's about their honesty. So I wanted to just explain something that came out that was quite new this year in particular. I talked about social trust earlier. This is about general trust. And what we've seen is that there has been a dip for the first time in 2022. Now, the graph, I want to go back. The graph on the left, that is the aggregated scores for 5 countries that we've been monitoring since 2018. So that's Germany, France, Spain, Poland, and the UK. And as you can see, we've dipped in 2022. And the same story happens for the 13 countries that we've been surveying since 2019. So you can see this is a sort of global effect that is probably meted out by all the challenges that the world has been facing. Now here we can see that tastiness and safety of our food is linked to confidence in our food technology integrity. Now it also relates to our to food integrity as well as the technology, but the graphs are very similar, and I know that we were talking about technology, particularly with Maxine's earlier today, so I'm showing you this one. And you can see that the tastiness, safety, health, then authenticity, then sustainability. These are the things in order of levels of confidence shown by consumers. And then one of the final things we've been looking at was the people's motivations to eat healthily, to live sustainably, to adopt new products, new novel, innovative products. And what we found was that people will be or come across as being more motivated to live sustainably than to eat healthily. And you can see that from those 2 graphs. So you've got, I intend to eat healthily, but I intend even I'm motivated to eat healthily, motivated even more to live sustainably. But when it comes to actual intentions, as in I go out and I buy this kind of product, you find that people switch round. So they will intend actually to eat healthily, and they intend less to live sustainably. So we can see where the opportunities lie there. So measuring consumer trust is an important step towards a healthier and more sustainable food system. And I just wanted to say that in the leaflets carried out, you'll actually also see some country breakdowns that are very interesting to look at for 2022. And I just wanted to thank the rest of the team, including University of Warsaw, Leuven, and UFIC, and of course, Aarhus. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Anna. We've heard a lot of really exciting things today about consumer involvement, tracking trust, and also tracking food, which has left a lot of questions that I'm sure that you have, hopefully more than in the last session. So now we can open the floor for questions so that we can have some engagement.
I have a question for Maxine. You were talking about transparency. Is it possible to share your data with third-party apps or something like that?
Yes, in fact, we really believe that nobody has the whole truth and nobody can do everything. So our solution is totally interoperable with already for the data collection, but also we standardize the data so that it is in a GS1 format. It's totally standardized, and then that can go into third-party applications. So it might be a retailer's application, it might be a brand's own application, or another. It can also go into e-commerce information because consumers are looking about that kind of information when they're ordering online because they're slightly more disconnected to the product. So it's possible, yes.
Free? Paid?
Yes, yeah.
I had a question for Christoph. I find your methodology for co-creation very interesting, and I wanted to ask about the key part of the process, and if you think that this process is available for also SMEs, or what can be the limiting factor for SMEs to apply this process of co-creation?
All right. Thanks very much for the question. So indeed, the methodology seems particularly suitable for SMEs. I have to say that the most impressive results that we've had were with startups, scale-ups, smaller companies, companies that don't have in-house market research expertise, and they are very open to front-end innovation, so suggestions about new products, proposals for modifications of existing product portfolio. When we talk about the methodology itself, I have to say that it's quite complex. So in this room, we actually have quite a number of people who used to work with us. They are experts in consumer studies, and our feeling was that most of them were quite surprised when they got manuals, tool sets for the methods, because this was really different from standard focus groups, etc. But what we've achieved was, a set of documents, guidelines, standards that are easy to replicate in different countries, languages, separate tools for people moderating the workshops, separate guidelines and tools for consumers, because our consumers also do sort of have projects, so that they are supposed to work together, visit supermarkets, plan something, and also separate guidelines for companies, helping them digest the ideas, select the most promising ones. So, of course, we hope that in the future the program would be more open to external parties, and maybe in the coming grant cycle of EIT Food, we would also be able to accommodate further companies interested in collaboration.
So I'm going to cheat a bit and ask the same question to Maxine and Vincent. In both your initiatives, for Maxine first, what was it that made some food manufacturers be motivated to join your initiative, and what were some of the barriers that prevented some other manufacturers from joining? And the same type of question for Vincent in relation to distributors or retailers.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting to talk about the barriers, first of all, because I think what is really important is that food traceability, for example, exists since the 90s or the year 2000s. It's a legal obligation, but it's becoming more and more demanding in how deep you go into the supply chain. So to be able to go not just for your immediate supplier, but also the supplier of your suppliers, and that's where it gets complex. And the whole point when we created Connecting Food is to make sure that making it possible to be able to already manage gaps in the information, because sometimes you have a lot of suppliers that can supply information and others that can't, and it's a kind of a virtuous progress program. because that puts pressure on other suppliers to provide that information. Also, what we're seeing from a motivational point of view as well is that some of our clients have their suppliers that are just supplying information, and then they become clients of Connecting Food because they are seeing an ROI in the efficiency point of view. The whole point is to be able to make the whole system more efficient so that, for example, traceability exercises are faster, but also product recalls are a lot faster, trying to find out where was that vat of butter in a big famous chocolate brand's factory within one day or within seconds rather than taking 4 days. It's really important, that complexity of managing that. Also the predictability of supply chains. We have also some of our big brands that are saying, I would like to know if I actually put on my pasta packaging that all the wheat comes from Italy. What influence would that have in the future? Will there be enough wheat in Italy to be able to do that if demand goes up? All that kind of stuff. So there are a huge amount of return on investment. That's the main. If there isn't return on investment and it's just cost, then it's going to be a lot harder for food companies to be coming on board. And I think that's important because we are on a very hugely complex market with low unit margins. Everybody earns very low unit margins. So.
Thank you.
Alors for us, I will try to create a synthesis. For the farm, there's no barriers. The producer love to go as qu'il patron. The only barriers we could have is sometimes with the questionnaire, they are not obliged, but it's the deal with the consumer to adapt their production, regarding the quality of the food and what we need for the eggs, something good for the chicken, and so on. So, they have to have the volume, the necessary volume to justify, to follow what the consumer asks in the questionnaire. This is, but for the farmers. But normally they come to us and say, please, we want C'est qui le patron. So we don't have any problem. For the transformers, normally it's the same. Transformers, what is important for me, because we work with small companies, with low cash, few employees, I always have in mind not to take them some risk, They just invest in some packaging, small amounts, because I don't want them to be in danger because we fail with the product or the distributor refuse at the end to distribute. Could happen. It's happened. So we try to protect the small companies. And finally, I finish with the distributors, because for the distributor, it's a real shock, c'est qui le patron, because they are not used to work like that at all. They are used to take us in a small glass box and press and press and press for margin, and ask for co-marketing, that. All of that. I've been in the box. I discovered the box. It's very painful, especially because when I arrived, I'd say, no, it won't work like that. Okay, you can do the price you want. It's free. Of course, the price is free. Be very careful with that. But the consumer have voted a price to protect the margin of everybody. Everybody should earn reasonably, So it's quite disturbing for the distributors. So when the distributor take us in the shelves, it's because they want to answer to the consumer demand. So what they look from me, they look at my community. How much are we? Believe me, if we are a lot of people, I'm better in the little glass box. So join. More we have people behind me, easier it is.
Thank you.
Thanks. It was very insightful. Thank you. I didn't know about C'est qui le patron, so definitely I'm based in Brussels, so I'll definitely check it out. I want to ask maybe a tricky question, which is, what is the pool of consumers you're targeting? Because I think, to reconnect to one of the panelists that said that sustainability right now, or sustainable products, are quite for an elite, let's say. It's quite elitarian. So what do you have in mind in trying to make it more accessible also for consumers who are not yet educated, let's say, to reach that kind of products?
Alors, thank you for this question. Thank you for this, because today, and it was the first time I met Nicolas Chaban, it was here in Brussels. I say, Nicolas, finally, your ID, it's the ID from someone from a luxury brand, you know the farmer by itself, the quality is good, you have a direct relationship with the customer. Sounds like a luxury brand. And you're very right, but C'est qui le patron should not be a luxury brand. And I fight for that since the beginning. So it's the equation all the time between preserving the margin of the distributors, of course, the reward of the farmers and my transformators. But what I don't want is that C'est qui le patron become an elite product. We have a lot of shop downtown, you know, with 80 euros, you have a small, small basket. But okay, for rich people like us, sometimes it's good. But I want C'est qui le patron to be for a vast majority of people. For 80% of the population should be able to buy C'est qui le patron if they want. So it's really about giving quality food to everybody, you know, really. And I remember just in a few seconds, I remember just one time I was in a small shop in La Louvière, in a very small city. I don't want to make people cry, but I was in the shelf and I said to a girl who arrived, said, do you know C'est qui le patron? It's for the farmer in Chimay là, to sustain. Say, oh, it's a great idea too. I would like to buy it, but I just lost my job and my husband too. And she told me, believe me, once we will have find the job back, we will buy C'est qui le patron. So I remember that, you know. And at this time, I always ask myself, perhaps we could do better even with C'est qui le patron. Create solidarity network, you know, to help people. It's all about the power of the people. And thank you for this question. And one of the guys told me, I won't say who. I won't say who because it's not good for the shop. He told me, oh, oui, C'est qui le patron? But you are sold in Carrefour. I say, yes, I'm very proud of that. I mean, some people are going to Carrefour. And he didn't want to distribute because we are not so premium because we're in Carrefour. Ah, it's not nice, huh? And not nice because I think that everybody deserves local food and quality food. Thank you for this question.
Very quick. Now to stay on the topic of sustainability, because we see the consumers understand as a more and more sophisticated perception of sustainability, but the gap is still enormous. I mean, the disconnection between the food and how it is produced, the education part is enormous. So more question for Maxine and maybe also for Christophe to co-creation. How can we do better traceability or co-creation can also be used to educate, just to educate and to start demonstrating that not all food is grown or then created equal, and so raise profile of, I don't know, regenerative agriculture is where I'm working in, but to scale that perspective.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I think what is important is consumers are looking, as we saw in the Trust Tracker, they're looking to be more sustainable. How to be more sustainable is quite difficult. And also, sometimes you may have, it's very difficult to understand as well what food would be more sustainable than others. And all this information is very much evolving as well. I think we haven't got the absolute answer today as in what is sustainable food, because it's a question of how far has it traveled, the carbon footprint, but also how, because sustainability could be also the ethical side of animal welfare, which is not always totally compatible with having the most carbon-friendly transport way of doing things, because if you're transporting animals between the farm and the abattoir that are less compact, they are actually using more CO2. So I think the world hasn't found the most sustainable measurements yet, and that's what's the most important thing. It's a journey, and educating consumers, but also educating brands, educating the whole food system into where do we want to be going. Now we know that we need to reduce CO2 in the world, but maybe 20 years ago we didn't even know that. So we need to know in sustainability in food, what will be the best measurement of that? And also I think, just very quickly at the end, I think consumers will probably be deciding for themselves. Some consumers want to have organic food that comes from a long way away, and others want to have conventional food that comes from a very local area. So the consumer will probably be the decision maker in the end. And so transparency on showing all of that information so that the consumer can make informed choices, I think that's probably the actual answer in the end.
So coming up to this, informed choice is probably a very suitable term. On one hand, our experience was that consumers that we worked with were non-professionals, which means that sometimes they were not fully aware of the sustainability implications of certain decisions. And that's also the area of playing together with producers and trying to find the optimum solutions. For example, things like unit size, choice of ingredients, and certain decisions which lead to design of products that would also take into account sustainability. I understand that we are quite...
Yeah, and the other thing is about being able to know where your food is coming from means that you know about the person who, or the people who have produced it. So there's that relationship that's building up. And so then there's that community care aspect of it, which comes through very strongly with Vincent's work, which is another side of sustainability that we really need to think about. It isn't just about the carbon footprint. It isn't just about animal welfare. Those are very important aspects, but it's also about the economic and the social side of things.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. I know there are more questions, but unfortunately, we're short on time, and I'm sure you can come and ask the panelists questions after. But I welcome you to move downstairs for the award ceremony and drinks now. Thank you.
Thank you.